First question is a statement. Spider-Man is the best superhero ever. Please agree/discuss.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hey, kid. You're like me. How?
I mean, we went and spent a lot of time thinking about what Stan Lee and Steve Ditko did to begin with, which is to create a superhero that was a regular person. And at that time, it was a real radical idea that a superhero wasn't like a god, but it was a democratized regular layperson that got called to do something at random. So we love that idea, and we relate to that, and we love that it's an empowering superhero, telling the story of Miles and Gwen and Penny and on. It just feels like we're carrying forth that baton.
Absolutely. Now, who came up with the idea? Who first in the meeting said the words Nick Cage?
I remember being with, it was us and the other directors batting around ideas, but I remember whoever said it, everyone immediately went, that's it, we're done.
Wherever I go, the wind follows. And the wind, it smells like rain.
Well,
we've got it.
We've had a good meeting. Let's go home.
Yes, exactly.
I know. I want to say that it was my idea because it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And because it's a good idea, I secretly am afraid it wasn't mine.
Sometimes I let matches burn down to my fingertips just to feel something, anything.
But we all loved it from the beginning, and he really, his performance really tickles me still to this day. Even
he sounds like he's having fun.
So many times.
Yeah,
exactly.
When was the last time that happened?
I know.
It's amazing. And particularly writing the dialogue for that must have been just a treat because you just, sounds old-timey, we'll bang it in.
I know.
Okay, little fella, Kingpin's gonna send a lot of mugs after you, and I'm talking hard boys, real biscuit boxers. Can you fight them all off at once?
There was we opened this box of old
30s
weird
terminology.
words, and then you made up quite a few.
We definitely all went onto the internet looking for 30s glossaries and that sort of thing, and then it became a thing of sort of mixing and matching to try and create new 30s sounding bits that we all participated in.
We also were pretty punchy. I want to say because it was 2 a.m. on the mixing stage.
That's right. And we were scribbling in the margins right before Rodney was going in to record with him the first time, and we're what about
Rumpelstiltskin? That sounds
a lot of stuff
biscuit
like
boxer.
That.
Is that something that sounds like something?
A lot of the things you made up wound up being filthy things.
Yes. The very first thing that one of the
when
lines
you Google
he said,
them,
we animated to us one of the lines, and it turns out finally somebody Googled it, and it was actually a pornographic act
by accident.
They're gonna have to replace that one.
And guess what? Then that one also basically anything you make, you put any two words together,
adjective, noun,
and then you Google that, and it's probably a naughty act.
Damn it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this Onion, a front page where they did a year in review over the 20th century, and they did 1963, and it's Frank Sinatra telling the commies to knock it off.
Yeah.
And it sticks in my head. It goes like this. Drop this commie bunk, or it's ring-a-ding-ding for you bozos. Singapore Soviet Union premier, a world-class knucklehead.
That's exactly it.
Is there.
It's there. It's all there.
How did you decide on the alternate universe spider people, humans?
You're like me.
Well, we looked for people who would look really crazy next to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had a love of Spider-Ham from our childhood.
Sure.
And we still can't figure out why he exists or how.
It's the power of a pun.
It's the power of a pun. They're not exactly jokes. I remember reading it and going, I don't think this is funny. I suppose it's clever. And it's a reasonable extrapolation of what
Anthropomorphized animal versions of Marvel
pig.
characters.
Yeah, I get how they got here, and yet somehow there's something so delightful.
I'm smiling, but I'm not laughing.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
But I am smiling.
But yeah, obviously from the beginning we wanted to tell Miles' story, and then the idea of an older, more washed up Peter Parker having to be an unlikely mentor was the primary dynamic there. And then once the multiverse door was open, we just kind of got out of control. But yeah, it was a real opportunity to tell have different animation styles right next to each other.
Exactly.
That you've never seen in the same frame before. And so that was part of what got us really excited, but it was also sort of a good metaphor for the message of the movie that doesn't matter where you're from or who you are, what walk of life you came from, we all can be a hero, and you're not alone.
In terms of the name of the film, Into the Spiderverse seems to be, if you don't mind me saying, pretty baller. It's like, here we go.
Here we go,
Yes.
jumping in both feet into the deep end of the pool.
You know what you're getting into.
Yes.
This is it, right?
Yeah.
Did I mention Spider-Men were in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you
It says
go.
that right
Yeah.
on the front. We want to make that extremely clear.
It is true. It
Yeah.
is not the shortest title in cinema history.
It was also somewhat important to us to have a poster of Miles with the word Spider-Man right
Sure.
next to him.
How close did we ever get to Tobey Maguire being involved? I mean, really.
That was something that we talked about the character of Peter in this movie as an amalgam of all the Peter Parkers you've seen
Sure.
in the past in its own new twist, because this is an alternate dimension. We make a lot of pains to show the world is different.
Yeah.
You know, little subtle differences in all the signage and everything to say, like, this is like your world, but it's a different dimension. And so it was obviously very influenced by the Tobey Maguire Raimi version. But, you know, from the very beginning, our friend Jake was the person we had in mind.
Our first call was to Jake, and we wrote it for Jake. And that's just because the personality that we imagined for the character was so close to what Jake brings.
All right. Watch and learn, kid. I'll quiz you later.
You know, I think there's an aspiration, you know, to include all the people someday that have been part of this.
It certainly
you
was
know.
discussed of like how in the world of the multiverse, every universe's Spider-Man can be represented. So certainly pretty much any version of this that you can imagine has been discussed by all of us.
And we wanted to leave it open to
Yes.
just kind of so that you can imagine that all of these things live in parallel to one
Sure.
another.
So what you're trying to say is, if you're under the impression that you didn't get geeky about this,
You
We
would be
definitely
mistaken.
spent
You'd be
time thinking
mistaken.
about it.
we may have thought about it.
Yes. No, I know we look like super cool jock dudes
Yep.
that just throw touchdowns
Sure.
and
Yeah.
You're just home run people
yes,
every day.
We
Exactly.
spent a lot of time at a Caltech
Yeah.
talking to various theoretical physicists about
Right.
the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Kip Thorne is
Yes.
came this close to an EP credit on the film. You know,
I
he just
know.
didn't work quite enough weeks. I
Nolan
guess.
had some notes, but you were like,
Yes,
we're
like,
good.
we're
It's
fine.
true.
Yeah.
Christopher, quit
I
calling
know.
me.
There was going to be a
Enough.
big
I know.
space library in this one, but he beat us to it.
And I guess with the other Spider-Man in the film, you had to make do with this Chris Pine guy.
I know. I know. He
He's
slummed it with that
talentless
man.
hack, that guy.
You were like,
Yeah.
I guess.
Destroy this big machine real quick before the space-time continuum collapses. Don't move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy is. What was amazing about him was that, you know, we were thinking about what's the most that version of Peter Parker was supposed to be the ideal Peter Parker. Like, he's handsome, he's funny, he's charming, he's good at
Touchdown, home run.
everything.
Yeah.
and you're like,
Nice eyes.
Yes, and so the
I want a voice that says nice
yes.
eyes.
His
Honestly,
voice sounds handsome.
'Cause
I'm
he-
not even kidding.
It's and the great part about it was like, well, the first thing you think of is Chris Pine, and then he really gave it his all, which was great. He was really dedicated to it. He even sang Christmas songs for us.
Oh, Spidey bells swinging through Midtown. Oh, what fun to sling a web and take the bad guys down.
He is a real treasure, that guy.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to keep up to date. You can listen to my Radio 1 movies and TV podcast, Screen Time, on BBC Sounds. And you can find these interviews in full on BBC iPlayer by searching Movies with Ali Plumb.